Kia ora, everyone. My name is Barry Law. I come from New Zealand. I have spent the last 30 years in tertiary education and youth leadership, exploring the successful elements of building capable and resilient learners. My presentation today explores three key concepts that I believe are essential in learning programs that develop capable and resilient learners. These concepts are emotionally engaged learning, being capable and having transferable skills, and also coping with change and creating change. Now, while these concepts are individually important, I also believe that they are interrelated, and especially if we are to have a sustainable future. They are essential concepts that need to be embedded in learning programs with specific, learning outcomes when learning programs and in assessment tasks. I'm going to take a moment now just to share with you my screen and a PowerPoint that will address these key concepts as we move forward. The first one is that emotionally engaged learning helps build the capability for change. So when I said earlier that they are interrelated, I think emotionally engaged learning is really important, but I think emotional engaged learning actually helps us build the capability for change going forward. So that's lining up all of those three key concepts as one major concept. But I'm going to actually address each of them individually. The first one I'm going to address is the concept of emotionally engaged learning. This is learning that it connects learners emotionally, either through an event, a specific place, or through one's interactions with other people and their values and beliefs. Emotionally engaged learning also combines the concept of experiential learning. That's learning that is based in a particular setting, around a particular issue, and of course involves a lot of reflective practice. SEL is about learning through life, the concepts of life, but also socio-emotional learning develops the key concepts of empathy, compassion, mindfulness, and this comes back to that notion of reflective practice, being mindful of what's actually going on around you, what other people are saying, what's emerging from a particular event, and then being able to be to explore that critically through critical thinking and reflective practice, and actually making meaning of that going forward. So I think these concepts combined are really, really important. So I'm going to just highlight Schumacher's wonderful statement that if education is going to save us, it would have to be education of a different kind, and an education that actually takes us to the depths of things. And this is what I think experiential learning and socio-emotional learning does. It allows us to go deep into the learning and to be able to unpack that and, as I said earlier, make meaning. So that notion of empathy and being able to empathize with what other people are saying, to be compassionate, and that's acting with empathy, of course. Mindfulness, which I mentioned briefly before, is that technique which focuses one's attention on what others are saying, what's happening, other feelings, and doing that without judgment. And then that concept of critical thinking, which is the analysis of actually what's going on during experience. And if we line that up with the key concepts of experiential learning and reflective practice, one which opens minds, it challenges attitudes and values. Of course, that happens through that notion of reflective practice. It confronts other views and maybe helps reconstruct ideas. When we're in a reflective practice session with other people and we're listening to other points of view, it's important that we are actually empathetic, we're actually listening, and we're actually unpacking other ideas around particular issues that we might be discussing. And of course, it develops a critical consciousness, and it helps provide practical evidence of our capability in different situations. So often if we're in an experiential learning setting, we're involved in reflective practice, and we're engaging in that really productively, then of course that's also evidence that we can listen and listen effectively, that we can actually critically reflect, critically think, and take that learning into other key learning experiences. The next one, key concept, and this is going back to the 3 key concepts, is around what does being capable mean? And being capable is that concept of learning through life. But it's also about the transferable skills that people might have, and the transferable skills that allow us to be able to transfer from one particular, or to transfer our skills from one particular setting to another setting. And if in an employment setting, of course, if you've got a job and you've got a wide range of transferable skills, and you get the opportunity to shift employment into another particular area, maybe not directly related, those transferable skills can transfer across. And of course, the last key concept there is that capabilities are independent of skills. So capabilities are what gets you a job. You may have a degree, you may have a qualification of some sort in a specific learning area, could be nursing, could be engineering, but the transferable skills are those skills that are independent of whether you're a nurse or you're an engineer, and that you can use in a range of different settings. Just trying to move on to the next slide. Here we go. So some of those, here's a list of some of those capabilities. So being able to work in teams, work independently, organize effectively, demonstrate resilience, think creatively, inspire others, practice ethically, think critically, solve problems. These are an example of some of the sorts of capabilities that I'm actually talking about. What I will highlight here is that in New Zealand, based around the research and the work that we have done in this space, we have established a concept called I am capable. And I am capable is a base framework of 26 capabilities with behavioural indicators that employers have said are important for work and for life. So these are not just focused on employment, they are also key skills for life. They will, of course, get you a job. And we've got behavioural indicators for each of those 26 capabilities, so that it outlines what evidence of what capability, what it might look like. And I think I am capable has been established so that we can produce a profile of one's capabilities, and I'll show a short video clip of that in the moment. What we've also done is we've also taken the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We've also written those with behavioural indicators, and those behavioural indicators can sit alongside some of the capabilities that are identified in the base framework of the capability framework. You could also take some of the capabilities, you could also take, sustainable development goal, or several sustainable development goals, and look at the capabilities required to achieve those. And you could pull those together in a mini course and provide a micro credential. So micro credentials could be gained as evidence of one's capability, not only in terms of the base framework set of capabilities for employment, but also around and combining the sustainable development goals as well. So why are capabilities important? Well, they are essentially important for employment, and they provide evidence of one's capability. They will also be important for you in life and becoming a good person, a good parent. If you become a parent, having a wide range of capabilities allow you to function really well in a community of people. So they're not just specifically for employment, they're also for life. But they're also there for the ever-evolving work environment and the changing work environment. And those capabilities are the transferable skills that you can transfer into different work environments going forward. So what does I Am Capable offer? And I'm going to show you a little video clip here that allows you to get a good understanding of what I Am Capable is all about. Hopefully that gives you a little insight into what I Am Capable is all about. It is an online tool, and it is about recording your capability and having a platform where you can have a profile for employers with validated evidence of what you can do. So I won't spend a lot of time here on the actual benefits. You can see the key things that are there. It's around transferable skills. It's about connecting the right candidates to the right employers. It's also allowing educators to advance and keep track of their own professional development. Now, why I've mentioned that one is that we've actually got principals using this at the moment in schools. They're using that to track the capabilities of their professional learning teams, and they're also using it to determine what professional development is required for those professional learning teams. And also, if someone moves out of one of those teams and they're looking at putting somebody else into that role, what capabilities they might need specifically to support that team. So there's a number of advantages over the I Am Capable tool. But what I also want to address briefly is the concept of change and how capability is important for change. We've got a future with a number of issues, and that's around energy, it's around climate change, it's around the materials we use, how we recycle those materials. We've got supply chain issues. We've got a number of things that are going to come at people, and how do we look at addressing those and making sure that we've got the capability to create the change we need for our future. I come back again to the concept of emotionally engaged learning, the importance of beliefs. We need to be able to help young people believe they can make a difference. We want them to be able to achieve and act on their beliefs as they move forward. But in order to do that, If you have no beliefs, you have no empathy. If there's no empathy, there's no connection. If there's no connection, there's no action. If there's no action, there's no behavior change. So part of the issue around having a sustainable future is that we aren't emotionally engaged. We aren't connected to what's going on. There is no action. We actually get no change going forward. So we need to understand the concept of behavior change. We need to be teaching behavior change, and we need to look at ways in which we can create an understanding of how young people can engage in change. I'm using a diagram here established by the Shannon Company in Melbourne. It's a wonderful diagram that connects and helps young people work through the concept of behavior change. It's looking at what values that you have and what alignment there is around that, around a specific problem. It allows you to map what the issues are around those your own particular values or beliefs around a particular issue, clarify what the real problem is rather than the symptom of the problem. An example of that is beach cleanups, where, you know, if you are involved in cleaning up a beach, you will often clean it up and then go back in 3 months and do the same thing because you're dealing with the symptom of the problem and not the real problem. So when we understand what the real problem is, we can then diagnose specific interventions to create the change that we want, and then evaluate those once we've actually put those interventions in place. What am I talking about here around interventions? I'm talking about customized interventions around a range of things. It might be a change in policy. It might be more leadership in that space around the change that you want. It might need more education. It might be about involving the community and community engagement. It might also be exploring it from a cultural dimension and looking at Indigenous ways of how they may have addressed particular problems and ways in which they've created change. And it's using multiple interventions to actually create change going forward. One of the key questions I often ask young people is, how will you map and identify issues? How will you clarify the real issues versus the symptoms of issues? How will you diagnose the actual problem? And how will you identify the different types of interventions that will be required to address specific issues? And this is a way of actually engaging young people, again, in reflective practice around aligning their values and beliefs with the behaviors they need to have to actually create change going forward. Finally, as I finish off this presentation, I want to highlight a wonderful message by Bill Shannon, the CEO of the Behaviour Change Company in Melbourne. What we do is inspire people to change their lives willingly and for good. And this is not around behaviorism, it's around behavior change. It's doing it willingly and for good. We're not forcing people to change, we're engaging them emotionally in the process so that they understand and make meaning of why they're changing and the importance of that going forward in the community that they're in. I'm going to just stop sharing my presentation now and go back, if I can. Trying to see if I can get back. And finish off by saying that I hope my presentation today has opened up some ideas for you around how you might design learning programs going forward, especially the concepts of looking at building capabilities and learning outcomes that address capabilities in your teaching programs, how you might address the concept of behavior change, and also how you might look at the concept of experiential learning and socio-emotional learning as a way of trying to create the change that you need going forward, or that you would like to see going forward. So I hope this has been a positive presentation and has highlighted some ideas for you to consider and think about going forward. Thank you very much.